That one's got a fence, so I know it's not ours.
I'm curious, since you guys are here,
I see you struggling a little bit. Do you like that?
yeah, there's kind of punch your April. Thank you.
So like, here's another picture I took from, like, you can see right here, the bike path right there, and this is all the path, which is there. And it's a little bit there, and then
Yeah. Yeah, so there's definitely an assumption.
Can I ask where you live? Where do you live in relationship to
Tell me when it's 6 o'clock, because I'm gonna ask you what time this is called.
We're 1 to 40, so we 140. 145.
If I can,
Right, I know where you are, so we're 140.
he misses like 10 minutes, and I said,
Right.
his response,
We have ancient trees behind us. Sure. 43 or 145th? Okay. Oh, we're gonna be up against it, our fence, right behind our fence, we're on the walkway, so on the west side. Those are all my questions, and I have a lot of questions. I really love trees. Yeah, we get
Yeah, so like I don't,
our birds, nature, safety. There's a lot of
Let her know when you want to
terrific.
start.
It's like
yeah, so we can, after.
it's really loud. Cut down the trees.
Good afternoon. If you could. Hi, how are you? Hey, Scott. So welcome to the Village Hall. Thank you very much for coming. This is the meeting, public information meeting for 82nd Avenue multi-purpose bike path along 82nd Avenue. My name is Khurshid Hoda, and I'm the Director of Engineering for the Village. I'll just do a quick introduction, and I'll hand it over to our consultant who's going to run this presentation and then follow-up questions on that. So as I said, I want to introduce a couple members of our team. Scott Lucan. Scott, raise your hand. Scott is a village engineer, and we are the local staff. And then Diana Purcelli, she's also our engineering supervisor here. So we are representing the village, and Jay is representing the consultant that we have hired for this project with Baxter and Woodman. I'll hand it over to him in just a minute. So we'll go into a little bit more detail about the project. But I want to make sure that one thing you know and you understand, this is what we call phase one engineering. This is the preliminary engineering. We have done quite a bit of work, but then now we are collecting input, and then these input, we'll marry it together for what we have done, and then we'll prepare what's called phase one design report, PDR. Once that is done, then sometime early next year, we're going to go into design. So at that time, the project will be actually designed. This project is not designed yet. So it will go through a design phase for most of next year. And then by the end of next year, early 25, if everything is in place, that's when it's going to go out and we'll go for bidding. And then that's how the project will be built. So I don't expect this project to be under construction until sometime spring of 2025. So having said that, I'm going to hand it over to Jay. Jay is with Baxter Woodman. And Jay, here you go ahead.
Thank you. Can you click ahead, please? All right. Thank you all for coming out. We'll do a quick introduction here, give you some information about the project and the meeting. And then following the introduction, everything will be in an open house format. We'll have the exhibits around the room to look at and staff around to talk to. And let's see, if you haven't already, please sign in. If you sign in, that'll allow us to follow up with you after the meeting if we need to, or share project updates. And wanted to make sure everybody knows, so we have got comment forms at the back of the room where you can write down comments and submit them, but you can also email comments, or there's an online web form where you can get comments to us. So any format works for us. But the main point of the meeting is to get your input. So we encourage you to leave some comments. All right, let's start with a little bit about the project. This project was part of the village's comprehensive plan. That plan had recommended bikeways throughout the village. In the plan, they recommended the whole length of 82nd Street through the village be a bikeway. And this project is a segment of that recommendation. So the project will be from 145th Place up to Arrowhead Lane. And that is the first segment they're doing. Within that area, we'll provide a continuous shared use path to accommodate pedestrians and bicyclists, which will close some gaps in the existing system and provide accommodations where there are none today. Sure. Okay. Let's go over, Khurshid hit on this a little bit, but to let you know where the project is at, we are in preliminary engineering. This part of the project is where we take the idea that the comprehensive plan came up with, and we figure out how we're going to build that. And to do that, we come up with a design concept. We'll design the path to the current standards and start evaluating safety and impacts, see if we have enough space within the right-of-way to accommodate that improvement. And once we've got a pretty good idea of a concept that will work, then it's time to present it to the public. So that's why we're here today. We want to get input before the project's too far along. We don't want to do this during phase 2 when we've spent a lot of time engineering. So we're early in the project now. So based on the public input and further evaluation of the design, we'll refine the design to improve safety, reduce impacts such as environmental or right-of-way impacts, and to better align with the stakeholders for the project. And once all of that work is done, we'll finalize the preliminary engineering and move on to phase 2. There's an exhibit titled Schedule that kind of breaks down the various phases of design. If you're interested in the time frame, that's on that exhibit. All right. Next up is project funding, which might not sound like a real exciting topic, but it's pretty important. For this project, we've received federal funds for phase 2 design, the construction of the path, and construction engineering. So we've got a lot of the work is being helped out with the federal grant. Overall, it would be about 70% of the project would come from federal funding. And that's important. Just a little background on federal funds. The way transportation projects are funded, the federal government allocates money to the states for transportation improvement, and the states usually distribute those in each region. So we're in the Southwest Council of Mayors here. And within this region, the municipalities almost compete for their projects to get funded. And the village is very proactive of pursuing federal funds for their project. It's a good deal for the village. Instead of using up the village's budget on these improvements, a good portion of that comes from federal money. The only drawback to the use of the federal funds is it does lengthen out the design process. We have to work with the agencies that administer the funds and get various stages of approval as we go along. All right, and so that's it for our intro. Let's go ahead and get started. Feel free to walk around the room. We're here till 8 o'clock, and we're happy to answer all your questions. So thank you all for coming out.
So, with questions?
We prefer one-on-one. That's the format of the meeting. It's an open house. So.
Does anyone, I have a list of things that I might cover a lot.
Yeah.
So could I just,
Yeah.
have you, whoever you think would like to answer can answer? If you think it's for a specific person?
I think we all
Okay,
have the same
I'm
concern.
kind of changing the format, but is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, these are some,
Want to hear it.
so, I'm Kathleen Walsh. I live at 147 Chelsea Drive, so it's right behind me. I want to thank all the people that have been taking care of phase one. Can you
You'd
hear
like
me?
one? Just in case, we're broadcasting it as well.
Oh, lovely. All right. not-
He's afraid to come down.
So, I'm just gonna start saying that I completely support the wellness of the community and anything that's health conscious. Hi, I just want to say that I support health and wellness for the community. I think it's essential for the future, and I know then in saying that we have some general concerns. So I'm just going to list the questions. So I'm finding out now who's doing the construction on the path and what it will cost, and the beginning and ending of the construction dates. Is the primary goal to make 82nd Street, the pathway, a feeder to the existing path in our community? Is this a connecting? Yes?
Yes, it'll connect to the Orland Bikeway. That's the path that runs in the ComEd corridor.
Okay. So what other existing paths that are here are on high traffic streets, high volume and high speed? It just seems that the traffic, living on it and being up against it all day and at night when you're trying to sleep, there's a lot of traffic on 82nd, and there's also a lot of speeding. And I'm concerned about that, having a path there for the safety of everyone and the safety of our properties. Do we know already has there been a traffic study done that will, yes?
Yeah, as part of this, as part of phase one,
Oh, wonderful. So we'll get that information too.
that's all in this, again, this is just a draft that they have going on right now, but this is basically the final deliverable of our phase one that essentially goes over all that, has these plans that you see here tonight.
And we can get copies of that also?
Yeah, once it's completed, it'll be available because it's. still in
Okay.
draft form.
So that's done, okay. Yes,
So like 80th Ave, right to the south?
Yes.
That has a path along it as well.
and 80th has the same traffic volume and the same speed and the same,
It's 4 lanes. This is-
It's a completely different road. It goes all the way out to St. Francis Road. Like, you're talking about a completely different situation.
She asked if there was paths along busy roads.
that were existing, okay.
But this is a 2-lane road that begins and ends in the village. That's a 4-lane road that goes through at least 4
I'm just
towns. It's
answering
completely
what busy
different.
roads.
That's a completely different situation.
108th has a path along it. That's a 2-lane road.
104th as well.
104th has just a 2-lane road as well.
So those back up.
That goes through multiple towns too, again.
Not all the way, but just.
No, but this is what she's asking about, though.
We're saying 2-lane.
This is the same thing, like, we're talking about the same issue. Like, this is a high-speed corridor with 2 lanes. That's a 4-lane road. There's no shoulder on 82nd Avenue all the way through, right? On 80th Avenue, there's a curve. It's like this 8-inch curve on the sides. It's a completely different road. And so using that as a comp is silly. Do Do you understand? Like, that's, and
I
that's,
know what
that's,
you're
that's
saying.
their
That's
argument.
what I was asking. Thank you for
That's
answering
their-
that. Okay.
Okay, go on.
Okay, now, nature and environmental concerns. Our trees are sound barriers. We know they're sound barriers because we live literally right off the street. So when the trees come down, are they coming down? And the carbon dioxide from vehicles, that's, you know, the trees are barriers for that. They're barriers and they deflect sound. We have a lot, okay, so I'm getting older. I'm a bird watcher. I can't believe I am, but we have a lot of, you know, are the trees staying? Are we gonna have any trees for all those reasons, including displacing any form of, any wildlife that we have outside our back door? Another big issue was crime. Not everyone has a fence. We do, and we have off to the side of where the path would be, a gate that we have locked anyway. But I'm concerned about crime on the road, on the pathway, and people having better access onto our properties and our personal belongings and our doorways. And then just the traffic study. And that's, thank you for allowing me to speak and bring up some questions. I hope it helps with everything else.
For bringing up those concerns. I encourage you to
I'm going to.
submit those comments, yeah.
No, again, the biggest thing too is, you know, this is fantastic, you know, we're recording this as well. I know that basically any concerns that you have, if you fill out that comment sheet that we have in back, that directly goes in this report. And basically that's memorialized in here. The more people that have more concerns on certain things, the more it shows up in the report. What we're doing is we need to be advocates for you, right? We need to have the information so that we can properly arm ourselves to go to the county, you know, to go to our board and say, hey, these are the concerns that the residents are bringing up. So, you know, going from phase one. Yeah, so we've gotten some letters as well. And again, if you email our EPS@rolandpark.org, we make sure that gets in the same folder as well. I send it right over to Jay and it makes it into that report.
Is there a community rep? Is there a person that's appointed for this project that is directly affected by it, that can be kept well informed to inform other neighbors? Has that ever been a consideration?
The village does not have where we appoint one person because we can't. So our source is that we try to visit information. So if you look at our webpage, there's updates on this project will keep coming up. So that's the
Okay.
best way. We do not have a means to appoint a person and then rely
Or
on that
a
person.
core group, like a
I mean,
side committee, not.
There's no project managers, is what you're saying.
No. We have what
No, they're
she's-
village
She's
paid.
asking on the resident side, not on. our-
Residential, I'm
No,
asking.
residential, okay.
Scott, so Scott is the project manager for the village, and Jay is the project manager for the.
Yeah, I work in this office here. If you ever have any concerns, you can walk in, can talk through it. I'm more than happy to meet anybody out at their home, take a look at whatever you guys are concerned about. You know,
I have some questions. Why was the pathway designed on the west side of the street versus the east side? Now, we're on Brighton Court Condominium Association. I'm on the board of directors. We have people that have kids that walk to that school. Now, if you look out at the school right up there, it's a very, very busy thing. Who's going to protect these kids that are walking to and from school with people on a bicycle? The east side of the street would be much, much better. You have buses pulling in and out of the school all the time. You have people dropping the kids off at the school in the morning and they're pulling out. So I know it says a traffic study, but it's
Well,
got.
you've also already got path covering 2/3 of that stretch that you're trying to put a path in on too. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to add another path on that side of the street.
And I mean, there's been other folks I know that I've talked to as well to where their biggest concern is crossing 82nd. You know, when you have a busy street like that, you want to do what you can to provide the same pedestrian services on both sides, right? You know, as well as linking up Wedgewood Estates Park, that gap that you mentioned between, you know, Prairie School and the path that's out there now, because right now, it's still connected, but you're going all through the neighborhood anyway to get there, right? So I'd rather.
I guess my other concern is, I've been living here for 40 years.
Sure.
And when I was going to Prairie School, and the school district was adamant that they did not want children crossing that street because it's too dangerous. I'm trying to figure out, and they know because like they're my neighbors. They live two doors down from me for 30 years now. They had 3 kids, same thing. School district didn't want them crossing that street. Who's the brain genius that decided that this all of a sudden now is a better idea when you got people using cell phones going through the lights there? That street is wider than it was when I was in school. It's now a 4-lane highway. It's been 40 miles an hour, and if you see someone going 40 miles an hour, they're getting passed like they're standing still. So all of these concerns that I don't see how this project fixes any of it. If anything, it makes it worse because you're having kids cross the street going from a park, in theory, being unsupervised. That's the advantage of having this, like, there's a crosswalk there, so now kids can cross. Like, if they're going to the school, there's gonna be a crossing guard, fine. Now you're making it more attractive for a kid to cross that street to go to the park.
You have,
They're gonna be 50 plus miles an hour, like, it's like, at least,
At least.
on a regular basis.
At
And
least.
the next time I see someone over there, like, doing anything to control speed, will be the first.
Jay, do you want to talk a little bit about the pedestrian improvements at 143rd?
Sure.
Start, I think.
Well,
Then we can talk to school after.
let's start with the east versus west. There's a few things going on that led us to put the path on the west side of the road. And the primary one is safety. If you look at the detailed plans, we've got dimensions of the existing center line of the road out to the right-of-way, the edge of the property that the county owns there. On the east side of the road, it's approximately 33 feet from the center line to the edge of the right-of-way. On the west side, we've got approximately 40 feet to the edge of the right-of-way. So we've got an extra 7 feet to play with. This is at most locations, but generally speaking, there's quite a bit more space along the west side so we can get the path further from the road. So that was a primary motivation. In regards to the existing path, so the existing path is an 8-foot path. There's many elements of it that don't meet the design requirements for a shared use path. The current design standard for a shared use path is a 10-foot wide path. And then beyond that 10-foot wide, we've got a 2-foot grassy area that's free of obstructions and that's at a minor slope. So if you accidentally ride your bike off the trail, you're not sliding into a ditch. So we've got the 10-foot path, the 2 feet of flat grass on either side, so it's a total width of 14 feet. So fitting that onto the east side with the narrower right-of-way would not work out.
Well, pretty much the 10-foot span will be right up to our lot line.
Yep.
And they'll be running into a fence instead of. Yep.
No, we're not putting it that close. At a minimum, we've got that 2 feet between the path and the fence.
Trees are coming down.
There is some clearing that would have to occur.
And how will the drainage, you'll put pipe down for the drainage?
At most locations, since we're constructing the path, there's a ditch there today, and we won't have enough room to convey the water in a ditch, so it'll go into a storm sewer. There are other utilities, but generally speaking, the area that is where the ditch is now, the storm sewer will follow that same path, so.
Already a portion of 87, it's pretty dilapidated, actually.
What needs repairs bad?
Not even kept up. Nobody uses it hardly.
Right.
And it's tore up all the time from utilities. They tear it up constantly.
There are a few other projects in the works. Scott can chime in if I don't get the details right, but there's a project for path maintenance along the east side that's in the works right now. And then also there's some drainage issues that have been identified over there. So there'll be some ditch grading to address those.
What predicated side of the street basically came with this? Why don't these compare, I'm just curious.
Yeah, so the ability to move the path further from the road is the main driving force.
You know, like you pointed out, everybody wants to have a healthy environment. Things outside. But one of the things I noticed, when you come down like 151st Street, you get out to the forest preserves, everybody uses the paths, doesn't intrude on anybody. You know, on 82nd Avenue, basically what's happening is a lot of homeowners outside in the backyards. This is a different situation. A lot of these paths don't intrude like that.
Privacy.
We're talking barbecues that people at home having. You're cutting down all the trees to get rid of the privacy. As she pointed out, the birds, people like to have their environment too at home. It's really encroaching on that.
Yeah,
First Street, I understand, you know, all that I want to tie in some of that, but it's a little different thing here when it gets to people's
I
backyards.
just want to add to, so just to, add to it, just so that you know. So we're working on another project along 167th Street, and that path is going right behind people's backyard. So this is how our. Sorry.
So I was going to add that we're working on another project. To give you an example, this is how our village is built. I mean, if we have to add these kind of facilities, we have to run it through somewhere. So I'm just giving examples was that 167th Street, we're working on another bike path, multi-use bike path project, which is exactly what is happening, that the bike path will be running behind people's backyard or backyard fence.
What phase is that in now?
That is in phase 2.
And I'm sure they're not thrilled about
Sure.
Hi, I'm Marcy Schuessler. I've lived in the village for 31 years, and my 3 children went to Prairie School. So when I heard about the bike multi-use path, I started to ask some questions. Why now? Okay, I and my husband here, we're avid bike riders. We have never had any problems connecting to the bike paths. Like just cutting through the subdivisions, we can even go out with a light. There's no issues. So then I thought, wonder why? Seemed, when I looked at the plan, to go all the way to Silver Lake, even through the little cemetery that's on the west side of the street, it raised some questions. But I noticed phase 1 was only going to be up to 145th Place. So I spoke kindly, it was wonderful to speak with Scott, the engineer, this afternoon. And he said there were a lot of people who were really concerned. And I said, well, who is for this project? And he goes, well, the Village of Orland Park, Cook County, and District 135. And that, to me, was bingo. That's the reason for this multi-use bike path. Where we live in our subdivision, and I know this because I have children that went through all these schools, is they will not have to bus children from our subdivision if there is a bike path or a walking path. So if you look at a mile from Prairie, we're going over several subdivisions. There's a huge shortage of bus drivers these days. I know it's causing a burden. I'm a teacher, so I understand the financial burden schools are under. I get that. But they want to mow down all these trees and call it a bike path that will never go past probably 145th Place because, the cemeteries there. Silver Lake also isn't going to lose, their contribution to the village and all the traffic in and out of Silver Lake. They have a lot at stake with that. Where us, if they only go to 145th Street, all those kids and all these subdivisions a mile out will now be walkers. And if their parents want them to ride the bus, because I understand this from friends in subdivisions next to me, they will have to pay for bus service for their children to get on the bus to go. So I think it's silly that we're talking about it actually as a bike path, because it will never lead to 151st to connect with other uses. It's just really to provide a walking path for our children. Now, as a parent, as a teacher, I would never want my children, and we gotta remember, Prairie School is kindergarten through third grade. I don't really know how many parents would put their kindergarten child to walk down 82nd Avenue to somehow arrive to Prairie School and hope for the best. I mean, these are children that are at the most vulnerable age. I think it unconscionable, to tell you the truth. And as my neighbor discussed, Prairie School was adamant against our children from our subdivision, where there is no walkway right now, to have to walk to school. So they want to mow down all our trees and have a bike path, they're calling it, that will never lead to anywhere other than to 145th Place, so that the schools won't have to pay to bus children in these subdivisions a mile away. And as everybody knows, there is a path already in existence to 145th Place that's on the east side of the street. But they're not going to be able to continue that because the homes closer to 151st Street are unincorporated, so they can't just, I guess, take that property without a process. So that's really what we're talking about, is children in these subdivisions walking to school so that the school district won't have to bus them. And I'm deeply concerned about it, and I wish you would just speak honestly about that the path is never going to be continued. It's not going to connect to anywhere. And people who ride their bike regularly, and any of my neighbors could say, they see us ride our bikes and we're getting to the path, and in 31 years, we've never had a problem getting there. So I honestly wish that you would put the bike path somewhere else.
Well, let me speak for the east side, because that's where I live. We've always seen. Pardon me?
Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting aspect that you bring up. And Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the planning that goes into the comprehensive plan, and up until we figured out we needed some property along the school district, were they part of the conversation or part of the planning?
They were not part of the conversation until that point. They were part of the conversation for the addition that came in. That's how we came upon the right-of-way issue, actually. So
Okay.
not in the genesis of this project, though.
So, yeah, I don't see the school district as being something that's moving the project forward, but it could have an impact with if it changes the busing requirements. So that's a great concern to bring up. I'm glad you did. Let's see. And I think there may have been something else I wanted to get to, but it's escaping me. I know this gentleman has had a question for a minute.
Yeah, we have 600 feet along 82nd Avenue for our association. I know that because I was the president, and I handle all the details for fences and stuff. If you're gonna tear down their trees, which you're gonna have to on the west side, who's gonna put up a fence, a privacy fence for us? I mean, we have bedrooms that face that, where people could look in. We have bedrooms. We don't have a fence right now. We have some arborvitae. So where does our privacy go with this?
Okay, this is what I meant to bring up after this lady spoke. I want to be clear. People keep saying we're tearing down our trees, and there is clearing. All of the clearing is within the public right-of-way. We're not going onto anyone's property and taking their trees. So I want to be clear about that. And when the clearing takes place, I understand that there's brush and trees at some locations that provide some screening between between 82nd and the property, and that will be taken out. Right now, there's no provisions in the project to do any sort of fencing or anything like that. That would be great feedback if you want to recommend fences or landscape screening, something like that. That would be a great compliment or great comment to make.
I'll also add too that for every tree that's taken out, it's in our village code, there are tree mitigation requirements, so completely dependent on the species, the size, often you'll see, larger tree has to come down, we're replacing it with 6 more elsewhere. So there are those mitigations.
Elsewhere, it's not really particularly answering this gentleman's question of privacy issues. Like, it's a really different thing.
Not elsewhere. The start is to put those trees back where the project is. If we cannot fit if we force it, then the trees will die. So if we cannot fit it, then we find it other places. But the starting point is wherever the trees are cut, that's where the trees are replaced.
What is the level of concern for security and privacy that we all will lose? You know, our backs of our homes all.
Exactly what the purpose of this meeting is.
Well, that's what we want to hear though. We want to know.
Like I said, this is preliminary design, so we're gonna collect your input and we'll see what else we can do to alleviate your problem.
Because then ultimately, what we're gonna do is say, okay, what's existing, what's here, are we able, can we screw something back, can we screw it forward?
Who are you talking to, us or the village?
We're collecting it from you, and then we're gonna combine all of that to make some sense out of it. And then we'll either first we'll discuss it among the design team, and then we'll bring it up to the village.
How about us? When we find out,
Then you'll hear it back from us again.
when it's done with. Right.
When we have a solution, not done with, but when we have a solution.
To our concerns?
Yeah.
Solution to our concerns?
Yeah. So, not to be, okay, that's one, that's one option.
Raise your hand, who doesn't want it?
And you all can say that, all can say that, and.
All I ask is that specific.
I'd like to also talk about the safety of children on this bike path and how they will get to school. So even the entranceway of my subdivision, which is Wedgewood Degree here, this is the main entranceway off of the and I am concerned with the safety of like riders, children. Since it's gonna go to Hartford, who is going to be there to watch these kindergarten, third grade crossing these major streets where people are flying off 82nd Avenue, flying off 82nd Avenue to my subdivision, and now you're gonna ask that child to go to cross 143rd Street? There are serious safety concerns for a bike rider, for a child, for a walker, for anybody. And I feel that is, you're not, this is the real concern here. I mean, yeah, you don't put a little sapling up that can knock somebody's beautiful tree down. But how are you gonna protect children from these in these subdivisions, walking to school along a majorly busy street, a lot of streets they could have to cross. And I would love to hear how you will address the safety of children on this path.
Right, yeah, we hear your concern, and thank you.
Can I get back to?
Why not?
I don't think he's giving an answer right now.
What's that?
The safety of
No, there is no safety rail.
I'm not backing.
Oh my God.
What, has anybody given any consideration for parking? There's people that live in some of these subdivisions that live maybe a mile away, but they want to bring their cars with the kids because they don't want the kids to ride their bicycles to the paths. Is there going to be any parking along this place for the cars, for the people with the kids? I mean, they do this all the time. I mean, you can see it.
No, this is just a shared use path adjacent to the roadway. No parking facilities are proposed.
No safety rails.
No
safety rails? No.
No, there is no guardrail between the path and the street.
Are you gonna take the speed limit down to 20 miles an hour?
There are no plans to.
I think that's a mistake, you guys. It's a long
It seems to me that just where it's running, there's such limited space there. There's no extra space, there's gym in it right in. And there's nothing on either side, it's no matter what way you look at it. 'Cause I tell you, I've lived on 82nd Avenue for 45 years. I've seen mailboxes get wiped out. constantly there. I've seen cars in the ditches by Silver Lake and stuff off the roads there. Snow
In my
plows,
house.
snow plows hitting it, you know, throwing snow all over there. That easement is very, very small. To squeeze that in, it's really a safety concern, honestly.
Now-
I don't think, like she pointed out, I don't think it's being addressed.
So there are design standards for the speed and type of road, and that has a minimum requirement of the distance between the bike path and the edge of the roadway, and we exceed that at all locations. So we're exceeding the design requirement. Now, for things like speeding and kids going to school by themselves, like, you know, we can't control.
You,
Oh, sure.
wait,
Right, so, yeah, we will have, the road will be in the same spot that it is. There will be a good distance between the path and the roadway, and there will be a drainage swale between it. So it's not gonna be, you know, no one's gonna accidentally veer off the trail and end up in the roadway. There's more space than that. So, what we have done so far is we look at the crash data out there. We look at what types of crashes are occurring, and we look for patterns of crashes, anything related to vehicles running off road, or anything that could be affected by the introduction of a path.
Was that 143rd? Because I live 143rd and 82nd, and I can tell you there's 3 crashes a day at that corner.
That could be.
That's without a pedestrian possibly trying to walk in front of your car, that now I have to stamp my brakes and now I'm gonna get rear-ended or something.
So I guess it's a good indication that right now there are sidewalks there, so there is pedestrian and bike traffic moving through that intersection. And you know, in our review of the crash data, I don't remember if there were any crashes, but there was no pattern of crashes that would indicate a safety concern with pedestrians at that intersection.
Well, there was a light pole that was smashed into that got knocked down at 2 in the morning that woke both of us up. So I don't know where you're getting your crash data from. Like, I'm seeing it personally, unless the cops are.
3 a day though?
What?
3 a day?
I see 3 accidents a day at that corner.
Well, I live 2 blocks away, and I'm sorry, I don't see, I mean, my house has been hit, so I'm not saying. They took out the northeast corner, or northwest corner of my house here about 10 years ago. And it's gonna happen. I mean, I don't care if you put the bike path there or not, or.
In our review of the crash data, you know, something like a light pole getting knocked down at nighttime, that would not be flagged as a pedestrian concern. You know, rear end crashes, you know, those sorts of things happen. It'd be more so vehicles leaving the roadway, pedestrians being hit, that sort of thing.
We have wildlife there too. We have deers, we have coyotes.
Yep.
They're getting killed all the time.
is the path gonna replace the sidewalks along the west side of 143rd Street?
Yes, the sidewalks would be removed and the path would go there.
Who's gonna clean up the pathways for snow and stuff? Where are they gonna put the snow when we get 2 feet of snow?
Scott, what's the
It
policy
sits
on
right
snow
there.
removal?
If it's anywhere near like it is on the east side now,
Yeah,
it's until it melts. It's as simple as that.
Well, how are the kids gonna walk to school?
Who's gonna trim the brush, who's
We do.
gonna
That's
pick
what
up
we
the
do
lawn,
now.
or the pet waste, the crap that people are gonna throw as they're dropping their water bottles? I mean, the easement is typically what we all take care of. We know our roads, we maintain the brush. So who's responsible for that?
Scott, can you comment on the maintenance of the path, trash removal? How does the village address that on their system?
I believe on village roads, it's, or I'm sorry, on county roads, I believe it's
But it's never been done.
No, I mean, on the east side now, you know, we have the drainage ditch there and everything that still, as we've already talked, needs to be better drainage put in there and everything. And the bike path itself is in terrible shape. In fact, the county's being sued by some parents that a kid did a nosedive, hitting that sewer cap just south of me. And he must have done a face plant into the asphalt, and the parents, whether they're suing for hospital bills or whatever, but that's why I thought they would be doing more repairs to that east side instead of putting new on the west side. But as far
They
as
are, but
drainage
not, that's a separate project that will do maintenance on the east side.
They never come in, I mean, they cut the grass, Connie comes in maybe once, every other month, cuts the grass into that drainage ditch there, never picks, nothing gets picked up, it just gets ground up a little bit, it's there. And it's true, you have all the people going by, like any place else, throwing their garbage out the window, and where's it gonna go? Right into the drainage ditch, of course. And I'm not going out there every day. The whole length of my house and property line is on that ditch. I'm not going out there every day to clean this ditch out. There's no way.
We pay to clean the
It's not your
snow
responsibility
and cut the grass on the on that area that you're gonna put your bike path on. We currently pay for that in our association fee. And if the village isn't gonna come and cut the grass every week, and if they're not gonna come and, clean off the snow like we do, like we have to, because people have to walk, we were warned that if we don't clean up the snow, we're gonna get a citation. So what's gonna prevent, something from happening if you say that you're not gonna clean off the snow?
Never been cleaned up in the 23 years I've lived
They
there.
clean it off by the village hall over here, by the
I'm
walking
just
path.
telling you, they've never cleaned it once in 23 years that I've
They
lived
clean
there.
it. I brought the dog here to walk.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not saying they cleaned it, but we pay for it now. And it's clean, and we were told that we have to keep it clean. Now, if we have to keep it clean, and there's an ordinance, where's the village gonna do? Are they gonna keep it clean? That's my question. I'm not saying I'm against the bike path, but if there's, the trees if they're not replaced, and there's no fence, and no one's cleaning the snow, I'm dead set against it. And I'll guarantee you, there are 28 people in our association that are against it, and I'll get them all to vote. I'll drive them to the polls myself if I have to. We've done this before, with the coach's corner and stuff.
Another thing is, there's a lot of people on 82nd Avenue that's unincorporated on the east side. Do they know about this? Have they been notified?
Everybody adjacent to the project received a door hanger. I'm trying to think. I think most of the unincorporated area is adjacent to the golf course, which is south of our project. Okay.
I think everything's incorporated all the way to Basswood on the east side. And it's stopped, basically gonna stop right at Basswood there.
Yep.
Just the opposite side of the street.
There's eminent domain, if they want to do
It's
it.
145th Street, or place or whatever on the other side of the 82nd.
I just had a, you're, on the cross-section, like, I realize this isn't demonstrative of everything. I mean, I recognize where that picture's taken, but regardless, what are you looking at from, because you mentioned earlier that you're not gonna be putting this path right up next to people's property lines. And depending on where you're at, I don't really know how that's not gonna be happening. And so, like, as just like a ballpark, like typical, what are you looking at for how much space is between a property line and where the path edge is gonna be? Like, and like I said, I realize that not everybody's gonna have the same just because of what you're working with easements and everything. But
Right.
what's the goal? I guess, would be?
Well, at the back of the room, there's a large roll plot, and it shows the path and the adjacent properties. You can see things better on there. Maybe after Q&A, we can meet and look at specific locations.
Okay, and then my other, just based on, and I realize, I hear a lot of the questions and comments have been really kind of things that are more beyond where I think the planning is at this point, is kind of what I'm getting out of some of it. But looking at, again, the sign here for schedule on phase 1, the bottom, the last bullet point is design approval obtained from Illinois Department of Transportation. Now, you guys said that the speed limit is not an issue that you're not including in this, that it's not currently part of the plan because it's not something that you have any control over. The Illinois Department of Transportation surely has control over it, so why isn't that part of the plan?
Okay, yeah, 82nd is a county route.
Right.
They're the ones that set the speed limit. If
But this is a county project, right? The county's behind this, so why don't you get the county on board?
it gets confusing.
The reason that President Brown is on there is because that's the funding source. The federal funding goes basically through IDOT and then gets that way. So that's
Again,
why-
but again, that doesn't absolve saying, hey, we've heard feedback from the people that live here. And the feedback is that they want the speed limit reduced. Like 143rd Street is maintained by the village. That was part of the deal with the state to widen it from 2 lanes to 4. You have control over that, like, speed limit. And if you don't, the state does.
Sir, let me,
This is a complaint, and the answer that we got was, well, it's not part of the plan and we don't have control over it.
so this exactly, so let me just say what Scott just said. This is a village-led project. We've got funding from federal government. That's why IDOT has to approve it, so that they make sure that the standards are followed, the federal standards are followed, so that's why it's there. Jurisdiction is county, so that's why it's county is there. But just like you said, and I forget the lady said, and a few others, we will definitely bring it up to the county that there is a concern by the residents and us as well. We have shared this internally that in the village, a 40-mile speed limit, people easily travel at 50 miles, nothing new. And we will definitely bring it up to the county and ask them to review it again, so that they can take a look at it, take proper studies, and then if they come back and reduce the speed, by all means. So we will not going to just take from your input and stop it here. We're going to pass it on to the county. This project will be reviewed by the county also, because of their jurisdiction. Even if they don't, and Jay can speak more, I will personally make sure that the county reviews this project and they sign off on it.
You would have thought they would have been here tonight.
Excuse me, sir?
You would have thought they would have been here tonight for this discussion.
This is not typical, I'm not going to speak more about that, but this information will definitely be shared with the county highway department.
No, I'm just saying, as much trouble as I've ever had on that east side with water mains breaking and everything else, and always being told it's the county, it's the county, it's the county. I'm surprised the county isn't leading this whole path discussion. I'm surprised.
Because the school district wants it.
There's what?
The school district wants it. So the village World Park has something.
That is,
Until there's a plan of safety in place, I cannot understand why there could be no next plan. Is anybody here even from Silver Lake, or since they would be highly impacted? No, because everybody knows the project will end at 145th place. This is a bike path that will go nowhere. It's a county-led project, and then they could easily transfer this to the east side of the street, because those residents across from Silver Lake are part of Cook County. So, I mean, it doesn't need to be in the village Borough Park.
so.
I mean, until there's a plan of safety, and no one was able to answer my response on how they will provide safety for children or anyone on a bike. If I'm on a bike to cross intersections, main entranceways into subdivisions, 2 different ones, and then to cross 143rd. Unless there's a plan of safety, I don't understand what we're even talking about.
And Jay
I
can
think
speak
what
on
you're
this.
getting at is, so as engineers, we have design guidelines that we follow. And, you know, the Federal Highway Administration, there's other agencies that come up with these guidelines. They're vetted through the local Illinois Department of Transportation, and the municipalities follow their guidelines, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. They're the ones that come up with the speed limits that are the recommendations for speed limits on roadways, the recommended lane widths, the recommended distance between a travel lane and a bike path. And so we depend on those design guidelines to build safe projects. And we're exceeding the requirements of those guidelines. So, you know, we're not disregarding safety. We're following the guidance that will result in a safe facility.
If somebody's gonna follow the safety guidelines, they should be out there when the school starts in the morning, with the crossing guards, when the school buses are coming in, when the school buses are leaving in the afternoon, when people are trying to get out of the school to pick it up. I mean, it's tragic right now, someone didn't get hurt. I mean, I watched it in my house. It isn't, I don't even have to go out to see how bad it is.
Yeah, pick up and drop off at schools is always difficult. I know what you're talking about. You know, this project, we are affected by the school, but as far as enforcement during pickup and drop off time, you know, it is a separate issue.
No, it's part of the funding. It's not a separate issue. I mean, when you put together a project, you put it together for all aspects of the project. And that includes safety items that have to go in there. Now, I don't know, I can't tell you what safety items have to go in there, but I can tell you that if you take enough of our property and you don't put up a fence, you're affecting my privacy. And now I can tell you that. I can tell you what the cost is. I can tell you that there's gonna be 8 people that are directly affected by a fence, that are right on right on 82nd Avenue. I don't see that. You say you're gonna put a culvert or a drainage ditch in for protection. Well, that even takes it closer to the house. So I'm gonna be losing property too, and I don't have that much property? If you need all that space in there, please. I mean, I wanna see something like this put together properly. If you're gonna put together a proposal, you have all aspects of it. I put together enough proposals, and I know how you have to have all these aspects in it and contact all these people. I know it's a pain. And I'm not saying that I'm against the bike path, but do it the right way. From what I heard today, I don't see it being done the right way.
Okay,
I just
and
don't.
we'd be happy to take a look at your property specifically after Q&A if you want more details of what exactly is going on at your house or adjacent to that property. And I feel like we're kind of revisiting old topics. Is there anything new?
My backyard is in that picture, and you said they were gonna do, drainage. I'm concerned because I flood all the time there.
Okay.
We're on the low end, and so I'm wondering what
Yeah, so
you're doing.
at most locations, the ditch will be replaced with the storm sewer. There'll be inlets to pick up drainage between the path and the roadway. So there will be a functional system in there. The new system will include stormwater detention. Anytime we add more pavement, we have to provide detention because the water flows quicker from the pavement than it does from the grass. So that's all accounted for in the design.
Know how bad that area is right there? They've been out a few times, and they said, can't do anything.
We can show you exactly.
Yeah.
We can show that on the plan.
And if you do have a flooding concern, please put the flooding concerns on those comment forms or in the emails, so we don't lose track of that.
I have one last question or comment.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned the parks or something on those lanes or whatever, where people would be impacted. But people in my entire subdivision, and the other subdivision, and every subdivision that's a mile from Prairie School, they notify those parents that a school bus that drops their child safely at the door. And I believe that to have this conversation, that everyone within the subdivisions that are impacted by this, that they're within a mile of Prairie School, should have been notified that they are about to lose their bus service, what we're calling a bike path or a multi-use path, because now their children will be expected to walk. So did you notify everyone within the area?
We did a mass email that the village does for all of their contacts, which includes, 25,000 different residents. It's been on the village website, and we've also, we've done a couple newspaper advertisements, so we're trying to get the word out.
I don't think parents know they're going to lose bus service, a safe bus.
Yeah, I guess we have not evaluated bus service. So if there are any changes to bus service, that's an unknown consequence. And that's why we're here gathering input.
Please, it's a very known consequence.
I don't believe it was known to the design team. So,
Why would the school be for this project? Because then parents who no longer receive bus service are gonna like either drive or pick up their children, causing more crowding around Prairie School, because there's not a school bus dropping all the kids in the subdivision, and parents will individually, rather than let their kindergarten to third grade age child walk along the path and then walk a mile home. So I think the school is 100% behind this whole thing. And I don't know, I don't believe that everybody's been notified. I mean, I felt read it as a bike path until I really understood what this project is about. A bike path that will go nowhere except to 145th Street, will not connect anything.
okay, well, we'd love to continue the conversation with you, but just for the purposes of keeping the meeting on track, any other questions before we just open it up to open house format?
Where do you put the comments on, when you go online? What's the address?
You can either email them, there's an email address, or you can, there's a form you can fill out online on the webpage.
Yeah.
All that information is on the comment form, so if you take one of those with you, you'll have what you need to make the comments.
Form is actually the same.
Yeah, it has a URL, it has a URL if you want to leave a comment on. So,
All right.
I have a comment and a question. I'll start with my comment first. This sounds like it's in discovery phase still. You're lacking a lot of data points. You know, it sounds like you only looked at guidelines, but not like some of the traffic concerns and the other concerns. Hopefully you guys get those data points so that it becomes a clear decision, including residential. My question is, I'm part of the same association as Dennis is. Would one of you guys be able to come to our meeting that we have with our entire community, that's like, what, 7? And be able to talk to our community about this?
So I will say.
That's like 20 residents.
It's at the village library.
Yeah.
So like you just said that, we are in the early stages of this design. So we're not ready to be able to go in an audience where we may not, more than likely will not be able to answer questions, like some of the questions that you're asking here. So we have to have our own time. So I'm not sure when that next meeting is, but probably down the road, when you have hopefully other meetings, when we are ready, more appropriately prepared for it, then we'll be happy to come and attend that meeting.
Well, we would love, I would love for the rest of the residents to hear this discovery pitch and basically have a discovery session for you guys so you can see what our point of view is, because it is a community. So
I will say this, sir, that this meeting is serving that purpose. Hopefully they had seen the message and they would have joined us. But the other second part is, we also have to look at what the village policy is about us going out into a meeting. I have to check into that. But like I said, personally, 3 months, 4 months down the road, when we have a better answer on the questions that you guys have raised or concerns you have raised, we have addressed, evaluated those, then maybe at that time, but I cannot promise at this point.
Hey, I got 3 days' notice for this meeting. And I talked to 28 people in our association, and I was the only one, and my wife and I both had it because we're on a village website. The people couldn't make the meeting here and have their questions answered because they had 3 days' notice. I mean, a lot of people worked. So has anybody gone and checked to find out how your communications is working? That's the question. Is your communications working? Are you communicating with the people properly? I don't think you are, but that's just my
But
opinion.
I will say this, sir, this message did not go out 3 days before. It has been on our website. A mass email has been gone out. So if you're just looking at this door hanger, that was dropped 3 days or 4 days Friday. So I understand that part, but the message has been out there for several days before. And I will also add that, sir, this project has been on board agenda many times. This is not the first time that it has been brought to your attention. It has been on the board agenda multiple times. So
what you're saying is that we have to come to the board meetings?
no,
every-
that's not.
And then we have to go and look at the website, constantly go on the website. We're directly affected. I'm directly affected by this project. I don't care, I don't know where everybody else is, but I am.
I'm trying to answer your.
Didn't I get advance notice?
I'm trying to answer your question. There was advance notice, then 3 days. So, but at the same time also, sir, the public information is not closing today. It's closing on November 9th. So you have here, you can look at the website and you can send your concerns, which will be same as if you were here. And in fact, your will be documented, written. So we'll have those. So we are not closing it today, all right, Jay? November 9th is the.
That's
So
correct.
November 9th, 2 weeks from today. So you have 2 more weeks to look at it. You can look at those documents behind you, anything here, and then you send your comments in.
So for our residents, since that gives us 2 days' notice, can we get at least another week or 2 to submit those to you? Because we want to gather the feedback.
Okay,
during
that's a
our-
very valid request. Jay, we will accept 7 days more beyond November 9th.
Okay, and I'll make it, during the meeting, I'll gather the comments and questions.
November 9 will be November 16.
Thank you.
Did everybody here say how you were all notified by the hay tags, basically? You know, as a reservoir, if we had to do something on our own property, that would have to require a variance or a zoning change, what would the procedures be? We would have to notify people, send them registered letters, to do all that kind of stuff. But if you guys take the shortcut, just hang on a tag, and nobody knows about this.
So I will,
Three neighbors that are like it, they're committed, they ask me, you know, when you're going, two of them really couldn't do. And, because they didn't have notice. And I don't think it's fair.
How would you like to be notified? Because I was not notified, I watch all the board meetings that are held here that are recorded. You can go online and do that. And I also do, I follow that, how you present it. For a lot of people, they don't do that. They don't know to do that, you know, to go to the website, that you don't have to come to the meeting. You know, you can sit at home and watch it. So there has to be better communication. This is said at every village meeting, we need better communication. Do you have a suggestion of how you'd like to be contacted? I'm just asking, how would people prefer to be contacted that's a viable way of connecting? Is that an okay question? Scott, anybody? I mean, what ideas do we have so we're always abreast of what's going on?
I got an email 3 days ago. That was the first time
Okay.
that I got anything. Now, I heard at this meeting that there were, something put on the door to notify people of the meetings but no, it's funny that there's 28 people in our, 28 units in our thing. No one has anything. I mean, if I didn't get it, we would not be represented here. I'm just,
I feel
It's-
like
it's
I've
frustrating.
been here so long in the Village Borough Park, and I've seen a lot of things happen, even in my own community. And I mean, you guys know how to communicate well when you want to, and like, you know, very short notice, you didn't even want this to be an open forum. I want to thank the individual here who made this an open forum, because you really don't want to hear our complaints. I understand that. So, like, most of us are here complaining for a variety of reasons, you know, landscape, privacy. I'm really concerned over the safety of children in our community, for which there seems to be no plan. But you really don't want our.
ma'am, I'm going to take, no, I disagree with you, ma'am. So I'm sorry. Because this whole purpose of this meeting is to collect, if you go by the laws or the rules or regulations, we did not have to organize this meeting. This is a public information meeting, that's why we're doing. No, I appreciate that. But I will also say that you have mentioned about something about the school. The school has not, you know, is not pushing this project. I want to make sure that on the record. What do you mean by who is pushing? This is, no, so let me, ma'am, let me answer the question. If you let me answer the question, that's only I can do it. This is part of the comprehensive master plan for the village. This village master plan was developed 8-9 years ago, and we're just following that plan piece at a time. Whenever we can get funding, we follow a piece of the project. That's what it is. It's not who is behind or not. It is part of the village comprehensive plan.
how often is the village comprehensive plan looked at and changed and modified?
So generally, these plans are looked at every 5 years. I'm going to answer this, and then I think we'll close the Q&A answer. Ma'am, I forgot how long is this corridor, where are we going to put the sign? We're following what the rules and regulations are set for us. You're asking things that make sense maybe for now, but we're following whatever is defined by the village ordinance, and we're following that rules and guidelines, or the ordinances, exactly, by the word. So anything different, we would do that if it's in our ordinance or village code book. That's what we are doing. So Jay, I'm not hearing any questions, so if you want to close this and let people look at these individuals so that they can look at their own property and see what is happening behind their property. Maybe that is a better way to look at, sir. Those plans will exactly tell you what you were asking, sir.
I looked at that, and after looking at that, the phase two, I realize it's a phase two question, and this is mostly in phase one, but it's budgeted out there as land acquisition 75, and it's not really clear on the plan as to what that's for.
Like Jay said.
That's just kind of like a buffer built in case they knew to, or?
Like Jay said, and Jay, please confirm that. We only are acquiring property from Cook County, school and the Forest Preserve. Comment. So those are the two properties, sir. We're not.
So you're buying like land, it's just like the land and like where that like retention pond is in front of the school, like kind of is that, I'm guessing that's part of that school district property.
Best is,
Yeah.
let's take a look at it. We'll close the Q&A, and then we can answer the questions at the table.
So in this case, it kind of depends on, in this case right now, exactly, so right now it's all in water, water outside water, same things in the ice. Now I'm just changing it a little, might be upgraded sewer, maybe we might need, so there are already stated, so it would not be in your bigger area. So we're not changing. In the other areas, it's there already. So it's basically what we're putting. We're closing it, you know. It's like this, right there. Yeah. I will show us all because that's what it was. But now, certainly the area that's that area. That was further phase 2. The edge of the sidewalk, so if you go right down to the sidewalk, right against the shrubs. I don't know. That would be the south edge of the 2-foot path. This house, I don't know. Yeah, because I see. I'm not sure why this is weird to me. I'm not sure why this is like that's how well, so what I'm saying though is that Google Maps also shows us that that's very clear.